US relations, we all saw this historical connect, like how the same connect used to be there in colonial system between British and India and British and USA. And then during independence struggle, like how US played a positive role during our independence struggle. And then after independence, initially, even though the relations was not that good, because India opted non-alignment status, and because of that, US bit distanced from us. And finally, by the end of 1971, we are almost in an opposite camps. Like we are seeing on opposite side, because US was on the side of Pakistan and China on 1971, and India was with USSR during 1971 war. And then we saw how after 1991, when the erstwhile Soviet Russia collapsed and became Russia, US emerged as the only superpower. So we started cooperating more with all the powers like US and other. So our relations gradually started improving. But however, by 1998, India conducted its nuclear tests. So because of that test, again there was a blip or downfall in the relations because US imposed sanctions. And finally, there are two landmark events like 2001 and 2008. In 2001, because of September 11 attacks on US and India started cooperating more on terrorism. So that is first step. And then in 2008, when India and US started this civil nuclear agreement, there was more cooperation in other fields also, like economy and defense that we have seen. This is overall static frame or historical frame. And then we saw this defense cooperation, like what it is DTTI, in which India and US both come together and produce the technology for both Indian armed forces and also exports. And part of that, we discussed some three examples of Pathfinder projects. And then we saw how US started giving us some of the important status, which usually US gives only to its close allies, like for example, major defense partner status, and then strategic trade authorization status, STA1 status. What is the use of this status is that we can get more sensitive defense technology and also in a fast process because the process of license and all will be reduced. And then we saw how US became one of the major defense exercises participant nation. And we also saw we signed two agreements of these three basic foundational agreements, like Lemova and Comcasa we signed. Becca is yet to be signed. And we had 2+2 strategic dialogue. This is defense part. And then our cooperation also expanded to space in the form of NASA and ISRO cooperation. And also in technology part like Smart India mission, startups, and other areas. Apart from all this, there is a unique element in India and US relations, which is very strong. That is diaspora connection, because we have of about 40 lakh Indians staying in US because of work, immigration, many things. Because of that, there is a strong connection and strong political support in Congress and White House from both the sides. Okay. This is about defense and other areas. When we come to economic cooperation, we saw how the trade is there and how India has especially trade surplus with US and how India is working to reduce the trade surplus. And then what is investment, how US is investing large in India and how that investment will be helpful for India. All these aspects. These are the all positive sides, like whatever we are discussing from start. At last, we have discussed challenges also. In that, we'll discuss again what are the challenges in economic side. And then we went to energy cooperation. This is a new pillar that is emerging in Indo-US relationship. I told like there is a shale oil revolution in US. Because of that, US became a net exporter of crude oil and gas. So that also we are utilizing it. Now we are diversifying our partnership into energy also with US. So that is energy part. And then if we see another important aspect is shared values. Because of, as I said, India is the oldest democracy, US being the large, sorry, India being the largest democracy and US being the oldest democracy, there are certain common values like tolerance, pluralism, democracy. So we try to improve them between our countries and also in other countries and international order or international institutions. And then we saw like after 2008 how India and US strongly cooperating in political arena, like United Security Council membership for India, or nuclear supply group membership for India, and similarly on counter terrorism, like how India and US are cooperating to list some of the Pakistani terrorists like Masood Azhar and all we have seen in the recent past. So this is about shared values and political cooperation. And then finally, the whatever the aspects of relation like economy, defense, political, all we have discussed so far are kind of present and past, but the strategic interest is more of future, like how we our relation going to be because of certain long-term interests. Those are basically maintaining the stability in Indo-Pacific region. Like we want Indo-Pacific region to be the important part, free and open Indo-Pacific region. How we don't want any power, especially like China, to dominate this region, so that it will help both the countries and region as well to grow. And part of that, there are certain tools. Like in defense, we are cooperating in the form of Quad. Similarly, we had this HADR. Told you like what are those humanitarian assistant and disaster response, and then we had this. These are defense and disaster response tools. But also on the economic side or infrastructure side also, we started a new project called Blue Dot Network. Remember this Blue Dot Network? This is a new proposed US project to improve the infrastructure, and this is one of the counter to China's BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. And how this is different from BRI? I told you yesterday, or I mean on the weekend, on Saturday, that this project mainly focus or emphasizes on quality, sustainability, and uh, sustainability, and transparency. So these are the three parameters that this project is focusing on, so that it is working as a counter to BRI. And then we have seen what is a quad map, where how it is focusing, what is South China Sea dispute and all. Okay. And then we also discussed this first part of America First policy, where I told because under Trump, from starting from 2015-16, slowly America started focusing more on its own interests rather than considering its interests and also a friend's or partner's interests. So because of that, certain challenges are coming up in the relations between India and US. The first one is US coming out of climate change deal, or US coming out of Paris deal. And we have, I told you, like the most impact will be on India, because India is the most vulnerable country in climate change. So how this will impact on India? And similarly, I told this JCPOA, that is Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So this is a deal between Iran and P5+1. And I told what is P5+1. P5 is permanent five countries. And you all know, right? Permanent five countries. Those are UNSC countries. And then one is Europe. So P5+1. Permanent five countries plus one. Europe and Iran. So this is the deal between them. So even though the deal was working good on nuclear issues, still US came out of the deal, saying that Iran needs to include even terrorism and other issues also. And because of that, it is affecting India-Iran relations and India's oil imports and energy security, all this. So that way, that is also an important challenge. That is an important part in 2018 and 19 year. Now, because of Corona and all, this attention shifted from West Asia, but this is one of the important challenge. And then if we see another two foreign areas is Pakistan and Afghanistan. So with respect to Afghanistan also, US started this Taliban peace talks, and it is not giving that much importance for India's interest in US peace deal. So that is also a bit challenge to India. And then finally, we have seen the fourth issue, that is when India has this relationship with Russia, India also developed relation with USA. But because of India's relationship with USA, now USA is imposing certain sanctions on countries that are dealing with Russia and Iran. And that name is CAATSA. CAATSA full form is, I'll once again repeat it. CAATSA full form is countering American adversaries. Countering American adversaries through Sanctions Act. Countering American adversaries through Sanctions Act. So what this CAATSA does is basically whoever deals with Russia and Iran, those countries will be sanctioned by US and even the Russia and Iran. So basically what we did, we made a defense deal with Russia of around $4 to $5 billion, which is S-400 Triumph. What is this S-400 Triumph? S-400 Triumph is an latest anti-missile defense system. So that we are trying to buy from Russia. But US says any country that deals with Russia will sanction them. How can they sanction us? Because we are having relationship with Russia not in recent past. It is a kind of decades old relationship, and that is one of the closest relationship. We can't lose Russia also because of just US. But US is not considering these interests of India. So even now, getting a waiver for CAATSA is still in process. It is not concluded. So this is one of the critical challenge or irritants between India and US. So all this can be grouped under America first. Why? You can see each policy, there is a common thread that US is taking first its interest into account rather than considering the partner or allies interest also. So that is about America first policy. And then we'll see how similar challenges are there in economic area also. So this is about so far summary what we have discussed in the last class. So coming back to economic differences, see the first one is imposition of tariffs. So what is this imposition of tariffs? If you all remember in last year, there were main headlines in every newspaper that US President Donald Trump called India as a tariff king. So that was one of the important headline. So why he is calling India as a tariff king? So his view is that India is imposing lot of tariffs on American products, and his main complaint is that. And he prominently cited one example, that is Harley Davidson motorbike. So he says India imports about 100% tariff. So tariff is nothing but it's a kind of tax that a company has to pay to import commodities into that country. So India, not only India, any country imposes certain tariffs, and it depends upon the revenue policy and trade policy of that country. So India puts a lot of tariffs or tax on luxury products, especially this Harley Davidson. So if you see Harley Davidson, you all know how much it costs, like above 50 lakhs only. So that is why India puts a lot of tax on that. So that is India's policy. But Trump says we are imposing very less tariffs on Indian products. Like when India exports a motorbike, it puts very less tariffs, less than 10% or less than 20%. But India puts 100%. So he says India is the tariff king. So first India has to reduce the tariffs to improve our relationship. So that is the first part, imposition of tariffs. So India is also trying. India is not like not reducing this. India has reduced this 100% tariff on Harley Davidson cycle to 50%. But he says even 50% is not enough. Even that needs to be reduced. And similarly on other issues also, like iron and steel. So this is US complaint, the tariff king. Okay, that is one part of first imposition of tariffs. Second thing, India also complains that US is imposing certain tariffs, especially starting from 2018. So in 2018, what US did is US imposed 25% tariffs on steel and 10% on aluminum products, aluminum imports from any country to US. It imposed mainly keeping in mind of China. But you all know that it is not only China that is exporting to US, even India exports, all other countries exports. So because of that tariffs, the exports from India to US, especially in steel and aluminum, got affected at large. So India also complained this. So this is one of the two examples. One I told you. One is this India's tariff on motorcycles or complaint from US, and similarly India's complaint on steel and aluminum products from US. So this is first part. And second major significant international relation event that happened in 2019 is US removed India's status of generalized system of preferences. I'll explain this again. US in 2019 removed India's status as generalized system of preferences. India's status as generalized system of preferences. So what is the generalized system of preferences? So under this GSP, basically it is a kind of differentiator between developed countries and developing countries or least developed countries. So it's a differentiator between developed countries and least developed countries or developing countries. So basically under GSP, US taxes very less. US puts very less tax, or it gives duty free access. Duty free access to products that are exported from, as I said, developing countries or least developed countries. So India was part of this developing countries. So because India had this tag of developing country, so India was eligible under generalized system of preferences. So for example, if US imposes normally 50 rupees on a product that is imported from rest of the world, it puts a tax of about 5 rupees only on developing country like India or Bangladesh. Okay, so because of that, what happens? Indian products cost very cheap. So because of that, India exports more, and that is why developing country like India benefits and it develops. So that is the main intention of GSP. GSP is something that is allowed under WTO also. WTO stands for World Trade Organization. So GSP is a kind of giving preference to certain countries to make their development more fast. So India was benefiting under GSP earlier, but now US removed it. And why US removed it? So that is first thing. So US removed it citing that one thing Trump says, India is no more a developed country, developing country. He says India is developing country. You see all the economic parameters. Now India is no more taking all the grants or loans from many organization. It in turn is going giving loans. That is first thing. Second thing, India has got trade surplus with US. That means India is exporting more to US. So all these parameters are there. And also India is not giving any trade exemptions to US, or it is not giving market access to US. So because of all these problems, US started putting pressure on India by removing the status of GSP. And GSP is very important because Indian exporters benefit almost about $5 billion, $5 to $6 billion. I mean direct benefits. So that got affected. So these two issues, like imposition of tariffs and removal of GSP status, are still under negotiation under between commerce ministries of US and India. So now they are trying to get a trade deal, like how US and China got, but it's a kind of miniatured version. That is, they are trying, still in process. So that is about imposition of tariffs and removal of GSP. So these are the two important differences. So apart from that, what are the other economic challenges in Indo-US relations? The other thing is recently there is a thing came up called dairy products issue. So what is this dairy products? Usually US and Canada are some of the largest dairy product exporter markets. Okay, they export a lot of dairy products. To India also they export. But recently India has put certain restrictions on US companies exports, saying that US is actually feeding their cows or feeding their buffaloes or whatever the milch animals on animal feed. This is animal feed. Animal feed is nothing but animals whenever they are slaughtered, there will be certain waste products, or usually when they get, then during the process they get a certain waste products, waste animal products, and those are non-vegetarian, and they are feeding that to their cows. And India says India is a strict vegetarian country, and there are certain sensitivity or cultural sensitiveness to Indians who are using these dairy products. So if Indians came to know, or if they are going to use this, they will feel so sensitive about it. So that is why we won't import it. Okay, so those are kind of certain restrictions India has put, and that also became a huge problem between India and US, because no other country similarly has certain sensitive issues. So that is still under negotiation. That is one issue. Similarly, medical devices. What are these medical devices? Like medical devices are something like implants. Okay, if you don't have an knee natural knee bone, they'll replace that with an artificial medical device or other electronic medical devices. So India has improved rates on those imports also. So that is also an significant irritant in the relationship. Okay, so apart from these two, latest there is a new revolution in digital side. You all know that now everything is being done in e-commerce sector. That is Flipkart, Amazon. In all these areas, we are improving more. I mean, the rate of development is more in digital technology than uh, normal traditional ones. So because of that, now a new issue came up called data localization. So what is this data localization? Usually these MNC companies, like if you see Amazon, Google, Facebook, all you name any technology company nowadays, all these companies are US companies. So what they do business in US, but all our personal information is stored in US servers or servers that are under control of US. So what happens because of this? Now recently you all know that data is a new oil. Whoever holds the data, he has the control. Now no more crude oil or any other oil is going to be a important resource, but data. Because if they have your data, they can provide more products, sell more products, even manipulate your opinions, even show what they want to. Like if you have heard, there is a scandal called Cambridge Analytica. Okay, in Cambridge Analytica, what they did is they used your Facebook information to provide the political ads that actually will be liked by you. Okay, so that way they are micro targeting you. So certain issues came up, so India started a new policy where it said all the data of Indians that needs to be stored in India itself. Okay, this data, at least if it is being processed in outside, one copy of it should be in India itself. Okay, this is data localization. Data localization is nothing but Indian government pressure to store the data in Indian servers itself, in India itself. So that is why automatically the again it is a challenge between US and India, because all these US companies like Google and Microsoft, everyone is forcing Indian government and also US government to not to allow storing of data in India, because once it is stored, it will be under control of Indian government. So that will be a problem. So there are issues in this area as well. Okay, those are so far these four issues in economic differences and data localization. Similarly, what are the other challenges? Next thing, this is a traditional challenge, intellectual property rights issue. I'll give one example to explain this in a brief manner. If you have all heard, there are issue of generic medicines and patented medicines. You know, whenever there is a medicine or a vaccine that is manufactured, usually the regulator or the government provide certain exclusive rights to that company to market it for certain years. For example, if suppose there is a new drug that is discovered by a company, that company will have 10 years right, or 10 years or 15 years based on country, to produce that. I mean, no other company can produce that drug. So that is patented drug. You understood, right? Any country, any company that discovers the drug, that company will get exclusive right to produce. I mean, no other company can produce it. That is patented drug. But after 10 years, that company has to uh, give that formula to the market, and any company can produce it after that, after the 10 years. Then the drug is called generic drug. Now we understood the patent drug and generic drug, right? So when automatically one company produces this patented drug, that is of cost high. Okay, for example, it might cost 200 rupees at that time. But once it becomes generic, because of competition and all companies producing it, it comes down to 50 rupees. You see, 200 and 50 rupees. So this is how generic drug keeps the market prices low. So India, because of huge population and who are very much poor in India at least, they can't afford high cost drugs. So India has more, orientation towards generic drugs. Because of that, India has certain policies in India's patent law, and US companies and US opposes this. Okay. And US says India doesn't have very strict intellectual property rights, that is protection of patents. Not only I whatever I've explained you, this is one example in pharma sector. Okay. Similarly, there might be issues in uh, copyrights. For example, films or books, with respect to piracy, or even uh, trademarks. Okay, all these are different types of intellectual property rights. Intellectual property means property that is generated by intellectual capacity, so that needs to be protected. So US says that India has very weak intellectual property rights, so there also certain issues are there between India and US. Next important thing which is constantly in news is H1B visas. And we all know, like, India is a major beneficiary of H1B visas. Like, if there are 1 lakh lottery visas, 70,000 will almost go to Indians only. So that is a huge demand from India for H1B. If somebody would have worked in software, they would have known, like, in their entire career they will be asking for one thing in their company: H1B visa. So that is a important part of H1B. And slowly after Trump came, it started imposing limits on this H1B. And it says H1B is biggest drawback for US. It says because of H1B, our jobs are losing in US, and they are being taken up by India and all. So because of that, there are certain problems in H1B visas also. He's putting lot of restrictions, and India is opposing them. India is saying no, it will benefit US also, India as well. So let's continue this and all. But that is again important challenge. So whenever there is a new measure that comes up in this, then there will be a problem. Okay. So far these are the challenges. So I'll discuss these takeaways after giving a summary of challenges. Now you understood the challenges, right? You can recollect once again, like in America first, how in strategic areas, especially in America first, the regions that are outside India and US comes into play, like Iran in West Asia with respect to JCPOA, Afghanistan with respect to Taliban deal, and then climate change, how it affects India's uh, vulnerability, and then India Russia relations because of CATSA, and then we saw economic differences. One is tariffs, and then generalized system of preferences, dairy products, and then price control on medical devices. And the important and emerging issue is data localization, when India is insisting that India should control its own data. Because from now, if you see in next 20 years, data is going to be the important asset, because every Indian is slowly moving to digital devices, and everything that he does on his smartphone becomes a data. And that is why, Mukesh Ambani says data is a new oil for India. So that is very crucial. If you don't control your data, you are going to be exploited by other country MNCs. So that is why we are forcing data localization in India, and that is impacting our relation with US. And then similarly, we saw intellectual property, as I explained you with an example. And then H1B visas. H1B visas are the visas that are granted by US to Indian immigrants to work temporarily in US. So that is, they are slowly reducing the limit. They are imposing new restrictions and all. Okay. So these are the challenges. Very quickly in Telugu, వెరీ బ్రీఫ్ ఇన్ 2 minutes. లైక్ ఇంతకుముందు మాట్లాడుకున్నట్టు మన రిలేషన్స్ లో అన్ని చూస్తే పాజిటివ్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ అన్ని చూసాం. లైక్ ఎకనమీలో, డిఫెన్స్ లో, పొలిటికల్ గా ఈ షేర్డ్ వాల్యూస్ అని ఇవన్నీ. అలాగే మనం ఇప్పుడు కొన్ని ఛాలెంజెస్ కూడా చూస్తుంటాం. ఛాలెంజెస్ కానీ మన రిలేషన్ లో ఎప్పుడు ఏవో ఒక ఇబ్బందులు అనమాట, ఆ ఇబ్బందులను మేనేజ్ చేసుకుంటూ రిలేషన్ ముందర తీసుకెళ్లడం చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. సో వాటిని తెలుసుకోవడం కూడా చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. దాంట్లో భాగంగా మనం చూస్తే యుఎస్ అండర్ డొనాల్డ్ ట్రంప్ 2016-17 నుండి ఒక కొత్త విధానం తీసుకొచ్చాడు. అది అమెరికా ముందు, అంటే అమెరికా ఫస్ట్ పాలసీ అని చెప్పి. అంటే అమెరికన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అన్నిటికన్నా ఇంపార్టెంట్, దాని తర్వాతనే ఇంకేదైనా. కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ అమెరికన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ముందు కాదు, అమెరికన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ మాత్రమే అన్నట్టుంది. అంటే ఇంకెవరితో సంబంధం లేదు అన్నట్టుగా. దానికి మెయిన్ గా ఉదాహరణలు వచ్చేసి క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్ నుండి యుఎస్ వెనక్కి వెళ్ళిపోవడం. అది మనకు డెవలపింగ్ కంట్రీస్ లాంటి ఇండియాకి, యుఎస్ పార్ట్నర్స్ అయిన డిఫరెంట్ కంట్రీస్ కి చాలా ఇంపాక్ట్ పడుతుంది. ఎందుకంటే యుఎస్ఏ మెయిన్ రీజనే కాదు ఈ క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్ రావడానికి, యుఎస్ఏ మెయిన్ కారణం. అంతేకాకుండా యుఎస్కే మెయిన్ డబ్బులు ఉన్నాయి, ఎకనామిక్ రిసోర్సెస్ ఉన్నాయి ఈ క్లైమేట్ చేంజ్ ని ఫైట్ చేయడానికి. అట్లాంటిది యుఎస్ఏ బయటికి వస్తే అలాంటివి సిగ్నిఫికెంట్ ఎఫెక్ట్ పడుతుంది. సో సిగ్నిఫికెంట్ ఎఫెక్ట్ పడి రేపు పొద్దున ఇండియా అంత సరిగ్గా డెవలప్ అవ్వకపోతే ఎవరికి ఎఫెక్ట్ అవుతుంది? యుఎస్ కూడా ఎఫెక్ట్ పడుతుంది. ఎందుకంటే స్ట్రాటజిక్ గా మన ఇంట్రెస్ట్ సేమ్ ఉన్నాయి. సో అట్లా ఆలోచించట్లేదు. రెండోది సిమిలర్ గా చూస్తే ఈ జేసీపీఓఏ అనే డీల్ ఉంది. లైక్ ఆ జేసీపీఓ డీల్ ఎలా ఉండే ఇరాన్ అండ్ రెస్ట్ ఆఫ్ కంట్రీస్ మధ్యలో, అండ్ దాని ఎఫెక్ట్ ఇండియా మీద కూడా పడుతుంది అనమాట, ఇండియా ఇరాన్ రిలేషన్స్ మీద కూడా. సిమిలర్ గా మనం చూస్తే యుఎస్ కూడా తన ఓన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ మాత్రమే దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని తాలిబాన్ తోని డీల్ చేసుకునింది. సో దానివల్ల ఇండియన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ కవర్ అవ్వట్లేదు. సో ఇండియన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ కవర్ అవ్వకపోయేసరికి తాలిబాన్ డీల్ వల్ల కూడా ఇండియా మీద చాలా ఇంపాక్ట్ వస్తుంది, అదొకటి. అలాగే మనం చూస్తే ఇండియా రష్యా డీల్ అయిన డిఫెన్స్ మీద కూడా యుఎస్ శాంక్షన్స్ పెడుతుంది. అంటే శాంక్షన్స్ అన్ని కంట్రీస్ ని దృష్టిలో పెడుతుంది కానీ ఇండియాకి ఏం వేవర్ ఇవ్వట్లేదు. ఇండియా డిస్పైట్ అంత క్లోజ్ అలై పార్ట్నర్ అయ్యి ఏం లాభం ఇంకా ఇట్లాంటివి రాకపోతే అని ఇండియన్ ఛాలెంజ్ అనమాట. సో అట్లా ఇవి మెయిన్ స్ట్రాటజిక్ అండ్ అదర్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ లో. సో ఇప్పుడు అలాగే ఎకనామిక్ గా చూస్తే ఈ టారిఫ్ కింగ్ అని చెప్పి టారిఫ్స్ ఇంపోజ్ చేస్తున్నారు ఎక్కువ అని చెప్పి ప్రతిసారి కంప్లైంట్ చేయడము, అది సిగ్నిఫికెంట్ గా రిలేషన్ మీద నెగటివ్ గా ఇంపాక్ట్ అవ్వడము అదవుతుంది. సిమిలర్ గా జనరలైజ్ సిస్టమ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రిఫరెన్సెస్ అని ఒక పాలసీ ఉండేది. దాని ప్రకారం ఎర్లియర్ యుఎస్ మనకు డెవలపింగ్ కంట్రీస్ కానీ లీస్ట్ డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్ కానీ వాళ్ళు ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ చేసే గూడ్స్ మీద తక్కువ ట్యాక్స్ పెడుతుండే అనమాట వేరే కంట్రీస్ తో కంపేర్ చేస్తే. సో దానివల్ల మనకు బెనిఫిట్ జరిగేది. కానీ ఇప్పుడు అది కూడా తీసేసింది. ఎందుకు తీసేసింది అంటే యుఎస్ అంటది అయితే ఇండియా డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీ ఇప్పుడు ఇదివరకు ఉన్నట్టుగా లేదు అని ఒక విధంగా. రెండోది ఇండియా సరైన మార్కెట్ యాక్సెస్ ఇవ్వట్లేదు యుఎస్ ప్రొడక్ట్స్ కి, సో అప్పుడు మనం ఎందుకు ఇవ్వాలి ఈ జిఎస్పి అని చెప్పి ట్రంప్ తీసేయడం, ఇవన్నీ ఒక పెద్ద ఇరిటెంట్స్ అయినాయి. సిమిలర్ గా చూస్తే డైరీ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ మీద, అంటే మనం ఇంపోర్ట్ చేసుకునే డైరీ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ మీద యుఎస్ నుండి, అలాగే మెడికల్ డివైజెస్ మీద టారిఫ్స్ పెంచడం, ఇవన్నీ ఇంకో ప్రాబ్లం అయితే మేజర్ ప్రాబ్లం వచ్చి ఇప్పుడు ఎమర్జింగ్ ప్రాబ్లం ఏంటి అంటే డేటా లోకలైజేషన్. ఇప్పుడు మెయిన్ గా డేటానే అత్యంత ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఇప్పుడు కొత్తగా వచ్చే ఈ కామర్స్ లో కానీ అన్ని డిజిటల్ డివైజెస్ లో కానీ. సో ఈ యుఎస్ఎంఎన్సీస్ అన్ని డేటాని కంట్రోల్ చేస్తున్నాయి. సో అలా కాకుండా ఇండియాలోనే డేటా స్టోర్ అవ్వాలని చెప్పి మనం రియలైజ్ అయ్యి కొత్త పాలసీస్ తీసుకొస్తున్నాం. సో దానికి కూడా మేజర్ అపోజిషన్ వస్తుంది అనమాట యుఎస్ నుండి. సో ఇది ఎకనామిక్ దాంట్లో. సిమిలర్ గా చూస్తే ఇంటెలెక్చువల్ ప్రాపర్టీ రైట్స్ అంటే ఈ మన పేటెంట్ రైట్స్ కానీ ట్రేడ్ మార్క్ రైట్స్ కానీ వీటిలలో ఇండియా పేటెంట్ లాస్ అనేవి చాలా వీక్గా ఉన్నాయి. వాళ్ళ జెనరిక్ డ్రగ్స్ కానీ వాళ్ళ కంపెనీస్ కి ఫేవర్ చేసేలాగా ఉన్నాయి, యుఎస్ కంపెనీస్ కి అస్సలు హెల్ప్ చేయట్లేదు. సో ఇండియా మార్చాలి అని చెప్పి ప్రెషర్ తీసుకొస్తుంది యుఎస్. అండ్ అలాగే మన ఇండియా నుంచి చాలా మంది H1B వీసా మీద యుఎస్కి వెళ్ళి పనిచేస్తారు. అందులో 1,00,000 H1B వీసాలు వస్తే ఆల్మోస్ట్ 70% వీసాలు ఇండియాకే వస్తాయి. అలాంటి ఇంపార్టెంట్ రోల్ ప్లే చేస్తున్న H1B వీసా మీద కూడా ట్రంప్ ఈ మధ్యలో రిస్ట్రిక్షన్స్ పెట్టడం స్టార్ట్ చేశాడు. మన జాబులు మాకే, యుఎస్ లో వాళ్ళ యుఎస్ఏ చేయాలి, వేరే వాళ్ళు రావద్దు అన్న కొత్త నినాదంతో ఈ వీసాల మీద కూడా ఎఫెక్ట్ చూపెట్టడం స్టార్ట్ చేసింది అనమాట. సో ఇవన్నీ కలిపి ఒక ఇరిటెంట్స్ లాగా ఫామ్ అయినాయి. ఇది ఇప్పటి వరకు ఇండియా యుఎస్ రిలేషన్స్. సో ఇందులో చూస్తే రీసెంట్ గా మీకు అందరికి తెలుసు అరౌండ్ February 26, 27 ఆ టైంలో ట్రంప్ ఇండియా విజిట్ చేశాడు. అండ్ అది నమస్తే ట్రంప్ విజిట్ అని హ్యూజ్ సక్సెస్ అయింది. గుజరాత్ లో ఇప్పుడు ఇప్పుడు చెప్తున్నారు కరోనా రైసిస్ రావడానికి వన్ ఆఫ్ ద కారణం కూడా ఈ సమ్మిట్ అండ్ ఈ ట్రంప్ విజిట్ అని. ఎందుకంటే ఆ టైంలో గవర్నమెంట్ ఫోకస్ అంతా ట్రంప్ విజిట్ మీద ఉండింది కరోనా మీద కన్నా ఎక్కువ. సో అది వన్ ఆఫ్ ద కాంట్రవర్సీ. అది పక్కన పెడితే ఆ విజిట్ నుండి జరిగిన మెయిన్ 3 టేక్అవేస్ ఏంటంటే, ఒకటి డిఫెన్స్ డీల్. 3 బిలియన్ డిఫెన్స్ డీల్ చేసాం మనం యుఎస్ తో. మన యుఎస్ పర్చేసెస్ చేస్తున్నాం అనమాట. ఇండియన్ నేవీకి కావాల్సిన రోమియో హెలికాప్టర్స్ అనేవి యుఎస్ నుండి కొంటున్నాం. సో దానికి సైన్ చేసాం. సో అది ఇంపార్టెంట్ టేక్ అవే ఆ విజిట్ లో జరిగింది. నెక్స్ట్ థింగ్, ఇంతకుముందు చెప్పాను కదా మీకు, ఎనర్జీ కోఆపరేషన్ అనేది ఈస్ ద లేటెస్ట్ ఎమర్జింగ్ ఫీల్డ్ ఇన్ ఇండో యుఎస్ రిలేషన్స్ అని చెప్పి. సో నౌ ఇండియా హ్యాస్ స్టార్టెడ్ నాట్ ఓన్లీ ఇంపోర్టింగ్ క్రూడ్, బట్ Indian company called Petronet is investing about $3 billion. About $3 billion. Indian company called Petronet is investing $3 billion in US company, US gas company. Okay. So that is another deal in energy cooperation. And also, I said in 2008 we made a civil nuclear deal. Okay, but that civil nuclear deal didn't materialize. By now it is like 12 years from 2008, but not many, not even one major US reactor or nuclear reactor came after 2008 deal. Okay, so to realize that deal, India and US are cooperating now to build these 6 nuclear reactors. So these were some of the important part. And another takeaway I didn't mention here, but that is Blue Dot Network. We discussed it, right? Part of the strategic interest. So that Blue Dot Network is also something that is announced and discussed during this recent visit. And apart from this, they said that we'll elevate our strategic partnership, cooperation, all the rest of the things, I mean, which are not important, but these are the important takeaways. This is about on a whole US relationship. And finally, what should be our conclusion or what should be our way forward for the Indo-US relations? Like out of these three, even if you remember one and you can utilize well in the conclusion, it will be generic and you can use it anywhere in the any kind of question that is asked about Indo-US relations. Like first thing, I said there are deep differences in trade between India and US. Like I said, intellectual property or taxes on medical devices or data localization and all. So here, what mainly scholars say is that we should not go with an ideological approach. That means like going sensitivity with dairy products or saying that okay, US is forcing us, US is putting pressure and all. Instead, we should try to understand the other side situation also. For example, let's see, Trump is kind of a businessman. Trump is kind of a transactionalist. So instead of going everything, break down whatever is possible. For example, instead of reducing the tariffs on all products for Trump, reduce it in whatever he needs. Like for example, Harley Davidson. Anyway, if you reduce on one product, it will not affect much. So break it into small parts and reduce that by negotiations. And then automatically the challenges will come down. So that is first conclusion, like going non-ideological approach to negotiations and breaking contentious issues, that is the difficult issues between India and US into smaller parts, dividing them and then dealing them. Okay. And second thing, uh, we are seeing about this long-term strategic interests. So with respect to USA, we should not deal only with defense or Indo-Pacific or Quad, but we have to expand that cooperation, and that is very important for India. So that is another suggestion for India-US relations. And then third thing is the final statement, like India's and US relations have actually got developed because not only because of the economic benefits but also strategic realities. So what is this strategic reality? As I said, the strategic reality is India and US should together cooperate to not to allow Asia or Indo-Pacific Ocean to be dominated by any other power. This is strategic reality. So these are our relations are more fueled by these realities and political convergences. What are political convergences? As I said, these democracies and rule of law, these values, these actually push together us towards one common goal. So our relations have been going forward because of these things. So this is on a whole a summary of Indo-US relations. Okay, so now we are done with Indo-US and Indo-China relations. These are the two major relations. After that, we'll discuss Indo-Russia relations and Indo-Japan and West Asia as a whole, because that is latest emerging field. This is part of major bilateral relations. Okay, so let's go ahead with ఇన్ టేక్అవేస్, ఎస్పెషల్లీ రీసెంట్ గా ట్రంప్ సమ్మిట్ చూస్తే మనము మెయిన్ గా టేక్అవేస్ ఏం జరిగినవి అంటే, ఒకటి ఈ ఇండియన్ నావీకి సంబంధించిన డీల్ ఒకటి చేసాం అనమాట, $3 billion డిఫెన్స్ డీల్. దాంట్లో వీఆర్ పర్చేసింగ్ M60 రోమియో హెలికాప్టర్స్ ఫ్రమ్ అమెరికన్ కంపెనీ, అదొకటి. అలాగే ఇంతకుముందు చెప్పినట్టు ఎనర్జీ కోఆపరేషన్ ఎలా అయితే డెవలప్ అవుతుందో దాన్ని ఇంకా ఎక్స్పాండ్ చేస్తున్నాం. దాంట్లో భాగంగా ఇండియా ఈజ్ ఇన్వెస్టింగ్ నౌ ఇన్ యుఎస్ కంపెనీ టు సెక్యూర్ ఎల్ఎన్జి గ్యాస్, అదొకటి. మూడోది 2008 లో సివిల్ న్యూక్లియర్ అగ్రిమెంట్ చేసాం, కానీ ఇంతవరకు అది రియలైజ్ అవ్వలేదు గ్రౌండ్ లో, అంటే కొత్త రియాక్టర్స్ ఏం రాలేదు. యాక్చువల్ గా యుఎస్ ఇండియాలో ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేస్తుంది అనేది వన్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఆఫ్ డీల్. కానీ అది అవ్వలేదు వేరియస్ ప్రొవిజన్స్ వల్ల, వేరియస్ ఇష్యూస్ వల్ల. బట్ ఇప్పుడు స్లోగా ఫైనల్ గా ఒక డీల్ చేసాం, లైక్ వెస్టింగ్ హౌస్ అనే కంపెనీ, యుఎస్ కంపెనీ ఇండియాలో న్యూక్లియర్ రియాక్టర్స్ కడుతుంది అని చెప్పి. సో ఇవన్నీ సిగ్నిఫికెంట్ టేక్ అవేస్ అనమాట రీసెంట్ విజిట్ లో. సో ఇది టేక్ అవేస్ నుంచి మనం వే ఫార్వర్డ్ ఆర్ కంక్లూజన్ కి వస్తే, ఇప్పుడు ఇన్ని ఛాలెంజెస్ ఉన్నాయని చెప్పినాం, మరి ఈ ఛాలెంజెస్ ని ఎట్లా అడ్రస్ చేయాలి, ఇది పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ కంక్లూజన్ టు ద ఆన్సర్ అవ్వాలి. అంటే ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ ఏ క్వశ్చన్ అడిగినా కూడా మీరు ప్రాబ్లం హైలైట్ చేయడమే కాకుండా లాస్ట్ 1-2 సెంటెన్సెస్ లో మీరు సొల్యూషన్ కూడా సజెస్ట్ చేయాలి. అందుకని నేను ప్రతి స్లైడ్ లో వే ఫార్వర్డ్ పెడుతున్నా, సో దట్ యూ నాట్ ఓన్లీ నో ద నెగటివ్ సైడ్ బట్ ఆల్సో యూ నో ద సొల్యూషన్ టు పాజిటివ్ సైడ్ అని చెప్పి ఎగ్జామినర్కి అర్థమవుతుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో ఇంపార్టెంట్. దాంట్లో భాగంగా ఏం చెప్తున్నా, ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఎకనామిక్ డిఫరెన్సెస్ ఇన్ని డిస్కస్ చేసినాం, వాటిని ఎట్లా అడ్రస్ చేయాలి అంటే మనం ఐడియాలజికల్ అప్రోచ్ పోకుండా నాన్ ఐడియాలజికల్ అప్రోచ్ పోవాలి. అంటే కొన్నిటి దగ్గర గివ్ అండ్ టేక్ ఫామ్ లో ఉండాలి. అండ్ ఈ అన్ని ఇష్యూస్ ని గ్రూప్ చేసి డిస్కస్ చేస్తే సొల్యూషన్ రాకపోవచ్చు, ఎందుకంటే ఒకరు కొన్నిటి మీద టఫ్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఇంకోటి మీద టఫ్ ఉండొచ్చు. దాని బదులు బ్రేక్ చేయండి ఇష్యూస్ ని, బ్రేక్ చేసి ఆ ఉన్న చిన్న చిన్న ఇష్యూస్ ని ఒక్కొక్కటి సాల్వ్ చేసుకుంటూ పోతే ట్రస్ట్ బిల్డ్ అవుతుంది, కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ బిల్డ్ అవుతుంది, అప్పుడు నెక్స్ట్ ఇష్యూకి వెళ్ళొచ్చు. సో అది బెటర్ పాలసీ అన్నట్టుగా ఒక సజెషన్. సిమిలర్ గా మనం చూస్తే ఇప్పుడు యుఎస్ ఇండియా రిలేషన్ అనేది ఇప్పటి వరకు ఒక ఎత్తు, నెక్స్ట్ ఫ్యూచర్ ఇంకొక ఎత్తు. ఫ్యూచర్ లో మనకి స్ట్రాటజిక్ రియాలిటీస్ లైక్ గ్లోబల్ గా మనకు కావాల్సింది ఏంటి, ఏ కంట్రీ కూడా డామినేట్ అవ్వకపోవడం, అలా ఈ తర్వాత పొలిటికల్ గా కూడా ఇండియా యుఎస్ కామన్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఏంటి, వీటి వల్ల ఇండియా యుఎస్ రిలేషన్స్ అనేవి నెక్స్ట్ లెవెల్ కి తీసుకెళ్లాలనేది థర్డ్ సజెషన్. అండ్ సిమిలర్ గా సెకండ్ వన్ ఏంటది, మోడర్నైజ్ చేయాలి యుఎస్ రిలేషన్ ని. ఎప్పుడు డిఫెన్స్ ఎకనమీ కాకుండా కొత్త సెక్టర్స్ కి ఎక్స్పాండ్ చేయాలి. దానివల్ల ఏమవుతుంది, ఇండియా యుఎస్ రిలేషన్ అనేది సెక్యూర్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇవి 3 కైండ్ ఆఫ్ కంక్లూజన్స్. సో దట్ ఈస్ అబౌట్ ఆల్ Indo-US relations. So unique aspect of India-Russia relations is that first thing, I'll explain this with the 2 statements. You all know, right? I mean, Narendra Modi once said to Russian President Vladimir Putin that if you ask in India who is our India's best friend in the world, without any hesitation, even child will say it is Russia. He said that. So that is a kind of deep, emotional impact that is there with respect to Russia and India. Even now also many believe that Russia is a close friend of India and Russia doesn't hesitate to help India because of certain examples that happened in history. Okay, that is one aspect of Indo-Russia relations. Similarly, and then in the latest summit with respect to Russia, if you want to note down, I can repeat it once again. Okay, Indian Prime Minister Modi said to Russian President Putin, okay, Indian Prime Minister Modi said to Russian President Putin that if you ask anyone in India about who is the best friend of India, if you ask anyone in India who is the best friend of India, even child would reply, even child would reply, even child would reply, it is Russia. If you want exact, this is paraphrasing. I'll tomorrow get the exact quotes what he said. This is something I paraphrased it, but there is certain exact statement. Tomorrow I'll put it in the slide if you want to write the exact thing. But this is something he said. And when and in the next summit, Modi again said new statement to Russian president. He said, it is better to have one old friend than having 2 new friends. It is better to have one old friend or one true friend than 2 new friends. It is better to have one old friend than 2 new friends. Okay, so people interpreted in different contexts. People said that, in Modi is suggesting to Putin that you better have old friend like India rather than having China and other countries, China and Pakistan, because these are like 2 new friends Russia is developing. So he's kind of suggesting it. So now you see the development from last statement to this statement. So why he said that? Earlier he said, ask anyone, Russia is the best friend. And second, he in the latest summit, he said that, okay, you see the value of old friend rather than having 2 new friends, because there are certain challenges with respect to India-Russia relationship. So we always say historical angle about Russia. I mean, we did that in Soviet Union, supported us in that war, it provided a defense and all. Have you ever seen something written in newspaper? like what is happening in Indo-Russia, or what deals are being made and all. Very rarely Indo-Russia relations feature in our main discourse. But if you see US or China or even Israel, to that matter, will be discussed more than with respect to Russia. So that is because Russia is also moving towards other partners like China and Pakistan, and India is also moving close towards US. So there is a kind of divergence. So that is what that explains these two statements. Okay, so this is the context right now in between India and Russia. Now I will go through sequence from historical ties to how it developed. So historically, I mean, Russia is has a kind of civilization uniqueness. Like it is a kind of long continuous country like India. So it also has got strong pride in its history. And the first contact between Russia and US, majorly in recorded history, came during a Russian traveler. Don't know exact name. So he came to India. So that is how first account of India Russia historical connect came. And then you all know that India was under British Empire, and Russia was another Tsarist Empire or Russian Empire was there. And Russia and Britain doesn't have any good relations. They are almost enemies. So there was always a threat of Russian invasion from our west, that is from Pakistan or Afghanistan. There was always a threat from Russian invasion, or at least British used to believe that if anyone has to invade Indian empire, it is Russia that is going to invade from north. So that is why there was always an kind of enemy relationship between British East India and Russian empire during that time. But after independence, or at least from the freedom struggle movement, this relation completely changed because of one thing. You all know that in 1917, what Russia became? It became a communist country because of a 1917 revolution, right? So after that revolution, slowly there were communism developing in all countries. And similarly, from 1920 in India also, Indian freedom struggle also was influenced by communist movement or Russian revolution. Because of that, there was certain linkages between Russia and India from the freedom struggle. But after independence, you all know that India developed, or India has inclination towards socialist model, right? You all know Nehru started this 5-year plan, and you all know 5-year plan was first implemented by Russia. It is something that we borrowed and improvised from Russia. Similarly, this socialist equality and socialist kind of ownership of, what is this socialism? In very simple words, socialism is nothing but ownership of production of goods and distribution of goods by government. Okay, ownership and distribution of goods by government. So that kind of socialism we also adopted, influenced by Russia. So just after independence, with this background, you can guess, even though India stated non-alignment, I told you, right? When with respect to Indo-US, I told that India adopted a stance of non-alignment, that is not going with either capitalism or communism. India stated non-alignment under Nehru. But despite that, we had this inclination towards socialism. So because of that, naturally, even though not that stronger, the relations between India and USSR were slowly started getting rooted at that time. So one of that was, so this is the background of Cold War era. So in this background, especially USSR was the first country to recognize our sovereignty in Jammu and Kashmir and Goa. I'll explain this both, Jammu and Kashmir and Goa. So why I'm stating this? If you all know, there was a president of USSR called Khrushchev. You don't need to write or remember this president. No one will ask this in prelims or mains. Okay, I'm saying a Russian president. Let's imagine Russian president called Khrushchev visited India, and he said, or he supported India's stance on Jammu and Kashmir. By that time, you all know that Jammu and Kashmir became an issue between India and Pakistan. Unlike US, Russia or USSR was the first country to support India on Jammu and Kashmir. Similarly, on Goa. Goa used to be a Portuguese colony. You all know, right? Goa used to be a Portuguese colony. until 1961. Imagine from 1947 till 1961 it used to be. Only in 1961 India sent its troops and finally liberated Goa from Portuguese control. So Portugal was against India taking this Goa, but it is Russia that supported at that time, and it was crucial for India to get that support. Why? Because Russia has what, or USSR has what, veto power. So if there is any resolution in UNSC, Russia can veto for us. Russia can veto for any resolution that is against India. So that is how the cooperation started in the first place. And you will be surprised to know that USSR voted so far six vetoes for India. Six vetoes. That is, any proposal that is made in UNSC, Russia vetoed it six times for us with respect to Jammu and Kashmir or 1971 war or with respect to other Goa and all. And in 1971 also, Russia helped a lot in UNSC and all to win the war. So that is a political cooperation during Soviet era. This is like 1947 to 1990. We'll discuss this era first. 1947 to 1990. This is Soviet era. And second thing, you know, try to see this IIT institutes, this IIT Bombay. This is the first institute that is developed with the cooperation of Russia or Soviet Russia. So under this Cold War, Russia not only provided us political support, but also provided support in development and technology cooperation. And part of that, our IIT Bombay or Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited (BHEL) right now, which is there, that was also developed by or provided technical support by Russia. Even the steel plants, the first modern institutions in India for industrialization, because you all know under British there was only looting, there is no much industrialization. The first, and for any country, Nehru believed, or many of the freedom fighters believed, that for any country to develop industrially, it needs to have these heavy industries like steel and iron producing. So our Bilal and Bokoro, Vizag steel plant, all these steel plants were, first put with the cooperation of Russian technology. So that is how it developed during Soviet Union. And anyway, on defense side, we had this close cooperation of arms and equipment right from our independence. So these are the areas in which our cooperation actually developed during Soviet Union. That is from 1947 to 1990. One of the thing I want to explain is, like I said, from 1947, our relationship with Russia is slowly getting developed. But there also certain blips are there. In 1971, it reached peak because we signed what? We signed friendship treaty with Indo-Russia friendship treaty with USSR, or Indo-USSR friendship treaty. In 1971, we signed Indo-USSR friendship treaty. Under the treaty, any country attacks India or Russia, then other country has to support or respond. So because of that only, when we are fighting Bangladesh and or we are fighting East Pakistan, when US is supporting Pakistan, Russia supported India. So that is how we were able to win that war. So that is a peak of relationship. But after that, slowly the relationship again saw some blips, especially after 1991. What happened during 1991? 1991, in 1991, you all know that USSR collapsed and became Russia. So because of that, there were significant impacts on India. Because we were totally dependent on Russia or USSR, and Russia suddenly broke up. One day we were unable to see where we have to deal our defense or economic linkages, because we had such close links with all the countries that were once part of USSR. And these economic countries or economic bloc of USSR is called Comecon. Okay, Comecon. So here you can see Comecon. This Comecon is kind of EU kind of group. Right now, what is EU? European Union. There is used to be a group called Comecon at that time. So this Comecon is USSR and its allies or its neighbors like Poland, the Austria, Hungary, all these empires or in the Central Europe are part of Comecon. Even Mongolia used to be part of this Comecon, and India used to have linkages, economic linkages with this Comecon and USSR. But in 1991, suddenly this broke. So automatically, Russia itself doesn't have control on its own constituents, part of USSR. So India's relations also got affected, or India's trade got affected. And next thing, defense supplies. So if you see defense supplies, Russia used to supply 95% at that time, and majority of these are located in like countries like Ukraine, Belarus, or in the parts of USSR. But after USSR breakdown, these supplies or these manufacturing companies were in example Ukraine. So no more Russia can control this. So Russia can't supply us defense. So because of that, our regular supply also got affected. So because of these two issues, that is, one is trade and second thing is defense. Defense supplies interruption and breakdown of economic linkages, India realized that we can't dependent on one partner. We can't be dependent for entire thing on one country. And then we started opening up with the entire world. That is when we started our improving our relations with US, EU, Japan, and other countries. And there is another background apart from USSR collapse. One is USSR. Second thing, if you all remember, in 1991, there were famous reforms called LPG. Famous reforms called LPG. Those are liberalization, privatization, and globalization under PV Narasimha Rao. LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So that forced India to open up more. That is how we started developing relationship with other world. So when we are developing with that, our relationship with Russia from 1991 to almost 2000, it got slowly reduced or went into a kind of r- negative trajectory. We can't call negative, but the relations were not as prominent as before 1991. Like what close relations we have, we didn't have. And there were other developments also after 1991. What are those? As I said, after 1991, Russia itself was became weak and it dependent on US because US became sole power. So because of that and under US influence, US pressure, Russia stopped providing us cryogenic engines. This cryogenic engines is very important. Okay, where we use this cryogenic or chirogenic. Okay, cryogenic engines are something which we have developed indigenously in very recent past, and those are part of our rocket launches. If you see rocket launches, there are three stages: liquid, solid, and cryogenic stage. Cryogenic is kind of third stage, so where we use different fuel. So that is part of GSLV-3 rocket that we now developed. Actually, it is Russia that has to provide this, but US forced Russia not to provide this technology, and Russia also, uh, obeyed to this, and that is why India has to develop on its own. Similarly, there were restrictions on missiles technology partnership also. There are certain things, and if you see in slide also, you can see in 1991, almost even Russia supported Pakistan proposed a policy called nuclear weapon free zone. Okay, nuclear weapon free zone in South Asia. South Asia nuclear weapon free zone. I'll update the slides with every bit of information that we are discussing, and I'll share. Even if you miss something in slides or if you don't note down, okay, don't worry about that. So Pakistan proposed in 1991 South Asia nuclear weapon free zone. So under that, no country should develop nuclear weapons because India already conducted nuclear weapons. So if we have this weapon zone, India can't test it. So that is why Pakistan proposed. And we expected Russia will support us. But at that time, after USSR collapse, because of global conditions, Russia had to support Pakistan. So these are certain kind of blips or down kind of ups and downs we say, right? These are downs of that India Russia relations. It is not always up. So it became bit blip till 2000 or 1998. But after 1998, again our relationship with Russia went into a kind of upward trajectory. This we call as phase 3. Phase 3 from 1998. Okay, and why this happened again? You see here, the beauty of this is India Russia relations as such doesn't have any impact, or India and Russia doesn't had any dispute or kind of conflict, but it is because of globally there are certain political changes. Because of that only our relationship has been affecting. So similarly in 1998 also, relations between West like US and Russia, differences have developed more. Like there was an organization called this NATO. Okay, this NATO is an US allied defense organization, and that started expanding membership to countries that are neighbors of Russia. Okay, like Lithuania, Estonia, these are the countries that are neighbors of Russia. So when they started getting membership under NATO, Russia got worried, and the tensions between US and Russia also again increased. So because of that, then Russia also realized, and India also realized, that relation between India and Russia needs to be improved. So that is how we see the starting positive trajectory of India and Russia. So at that time, the Putin came to as a president. Okay, and the first visit of Putin came in 2002 India, and that is when he stated lot of emphasis on India and Russia relations. Now, part of that, he said uh, the important thing is he said India and Russia relations are unique. Okay, here you can find this point. Like India and Russia relations are unique because India and Russia geopolitical interests always coincide. Okay, that means our interests in the nearby region always come together, and never in history there was any conflict or hostility between us, not US here, us. So what does this mean? This means if you see, suppose Russia and China have a border, and you all know Russia and China, despite communist countries, they also went to almost border conflicts or border clashes between Russia and US, Russia and China. Similarly, Russia has problems with US, Russia has problems with EU. But does the any time in history India and Russia had problem, or India and Russia had any conflict? No. So that is what he's saying. So we don't have any conflict, so we have only positive things, we don't have negative things. And that is how we started a new concept called strategic partnership. And many say India's first strategic partnership is with Russia. So that started around 2000, and I'll explain more like what is happened after this 2000, and then how it developed into 2014 and 2018 and 19 also I'll explain. And then in tomorrow's class we'll see in deeper aspect, like how political relations, how defense, how economic and other aspects are there in Indo-Russia relations. Okay, so to give you a brief summary, you understand it, right? How it developed from historical angle, to put it in a static frame. Initially, there was a kind of Russian travelers, and then kind of image between Russia and India because of these travelers. And then during British Empire, there was a kind of negative relations, like animosity between Russian Empire and British East India. Russia doesn't have any enemy or inimical relations with India as such, but because of British East India control of India, Russia feared that British also can expand to Russian Empire, and British feared that Russia will expand to or occupy British East India. So this kind of mutual suspicion was there. But after independence or before independence itself, there is a kind of appreciation from Indian freedom fighters about Russian Revolution, communist ideals, communism, and all. So because of that, slowly, even after independence, also, in, despite non-alignment, we had a inclination towards socialist Russia, and that also even Russia also responded similarly. Like Khrushchev first visited India and supported India on Jammu and Kashmir and Goa, and then similarly Russia helped us in establishing steel plants, IIT Bombay, technology cooperation, and all this. Okay, and similarly defense supplies were also provided by Russia. This way, relation was peaked by 1971, and it was very good on a positive trajectory till 1991. But after 1991, significant events happened. One is breakdown of USSR into Russia, and similarly, India also started this LPG reforms. So because of these two, again our relationship got reduced because of US pressure on Russia. And examples are Russia not cooperating on technology transfer, Russia supporting Pakistan on some issues, and all this. But however, again from 2000 under Putin presidency, again India and Russia relationship got improved, and some of that we have seen, like how the strategic partnership agreement signed. India Russia again supported each other in UNSC, in other issues also. This is so far.